What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today. And in this video, we are at Omaha Eppley Airfield for the 11th airport update for the month of April 2025. Yes, you are watching this on the right channel. I just want to make sure that there's no more confusion, but that was kind of funny from at the start of the month. But this month, we've got another loaded update, but not in the way that it was last month. We've got some diversions, we've got some weird one-offs, just kind of all kinds of weird things going on in this month's update, but certainly a lot to talk about, so let's get right into this thing. So we start off at Alpha 2 today and not Alpha 1, since that gate is not occupied at this time. We have a Delta connection, Embraer 175 with the enhanced winglets. This ride in from Minneapolis is flight 3831, operated by SkyWest at 9:58 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 10:13 a.m. arrival. And then moving down, we have the Mad Pup, the 717, coming in from Atlanta as flight 1125. Hopefully this flight is a little bit better in the pricing, since there's actually they actually have more flights across the day. I have like about 4 to 5 or so based on when I checked it last. This arrived in at 2:12 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 2:16 p.m. arrival. Now, as for Delta, they've got like this one-off flight to Boston on May 4th or something. It's on an A319, and did not see this until I checked the flight connections map, and for some reason they have a flight to Boston listed, so I don't know what's going on with that, unless if it's just maybe a charter that got scheduled and it just so happened to end up on there, or if they're actually starting a new Boston route and nobody's announced it yet, which would be kind of crazy, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And the same thing is going on as well. I saw some services to Newark on United. May 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th all have mainline aircraft scheduled on those days. So I don't know what's going on, if it's just a glitch or something, but I guess that's just how it is. So we'll see if anything develops out of that, but that will certainly be covered in next month's update if something does develop from that. But at any rate, we continue and we move on to this Embraer 175 with the short winglets substituted for a 170 in this case. This arrived in from Washington Reagan, excuse me, I was reading a couple other aircraft there. This arrived in from Washington Reagan National as flight 5608, operated by Republic Airways at 9:37 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 10:14 a.m. arrival. Saturday's blocked off on the service. They do not operate it on that day. It's all the other days of the week except Saturday, the best day of the week, I would argue. And now we move on to this monster diversion. It's actually not the biggest diversion that we have, because there's another one in the background. You're going to have to ignore the airline because I don't have a model for this yet, but I think you know what's coming. But we've got the 757-300 sitting here at Gate Alpha 5. The giant pencil has made a visit to Omaha, diverting in from Fort Lauderdale, intended for Minneapolis due to some storms. So very interesting that they sent one of these things to Omaha. And it was November 584 November Whiskey in real life. This one that I have is 586. This is the 2021 release, the now second most recent, because I think they did one last year, Gemini Jets did. Surprise NG hasn't touched on the subject yet, but since they just did an Iceland Air in their recent release, they did a couple of the regular liveries, one with some special titles, and then the 100 Years special livery, which I did pre-order, by the way, so that will be coming in at a later date. I don't know when exactly yet. But as for the 753, very interesting to have this here. And then while I'm on this topic, I'm going to go ahead and show the other big diversion, which is going to be way in the back here. So I'm going to have to raise the camera above the B gates. But there it is. That is a 787-9. I'm using my American example by AV400 in substitution for a United example. But I'm going to pop up a photo of a United model that I have right now. Thanks to Aviation J for providing me with this photo, just so I can use it for simplicity's sake or whatever. But what are the odds? We've got a 787 that comes to Omaha, and then like a couple weeks later, then we have a 753. I don't know why Omaha gets all the cool diversions. I mean, it kind of makes sense because they are larger airports, so they've got more equipment, more facilities to handle larger aircraft, and like my hometown airport of Sioux Falls, we don't really have that much. Though we got very close to an A330neo diversion a couple years ago, but that didn't come to fruition. So that being said, this 787 is very interesting, and it's actually the first time that they've ever gotten a Dreamliner, according to the Omaha Airport's Instagram page. They've never gotten one before for any reason, but we'll see if that comes back in the future. But for now, we're going to go ahead and continue and move on to the American section. I'm going to leave the tripod up at this higher elevation here, just so that it's a little easier for me to work with, so I don't have to jolt the tripod up and down any further than what I would like to. But now we move on to Gate Alpha 6 with this American Eagle number 175 coming in from Los Angeles. It's flight 6472. This is a SkyWest operated flight. And this arrived in at 6:58 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 7:21 p.m. arrival. Very good to see that. And then this is also a great sight, another special. This is the One World 737-800, the exact registration modeled here, November 837, November. They used to have 838, though that one got repainted recently. And I think they still have like one or two others that are still wearing the Alliance livery for One World. But this arrived in from Charlotte as flight 961, and this arrived in at 9:59 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 10:23 p.m. arrival. So a very late arrival for these folks. I don't know. I don't think anybody got photos of it at Omaha, unfortunately. And I should mention the flights in this update, they are going to be mostly from Friday, April 25th, with a couple exceptions. But now we move on to this American A320, the CFM engine release. I finally took this one off my Des Moines diorama because it's been sitting there for like 2 months. Need to get it moving somewhere because that's what airplanes do after all, IRL. This arrived in from DFW as flight 2269 at 11:44 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 12:06 p.m. arrival. I'll swing the camera around to Alpha 9, which would typically be the Frontier or the Alaska gate, but I don't have either airline in this update. But in its place, I have the MAX 8. And this arrived in from Chicago O'Hare as flight 3198, and I pulled this flight from Thursday, April 24th, since I saw that they were sending in a regular 738 on the day that I checked the flight schedule for, but the rest of the days that I saw, they're sending the MAX 8. But this arrived in at 10:34 p.m., delayed from a 10:31 p.m. scheduled arrival, so just behind by 3 minutes. November 304 Uniform Foxtrot operated on this particular flight for that day. So now, as I zoom out and I'll just show the Delta lineup here since the background's a little cluttered. I do want to show just a quick update that the Omaha Airport Instagram page showed earlier this month. So a lot of great progress has been made. The terminal canopy has been mostly installed, and they've got a majority of the exterior structure of the new terminal built up. So I'll have to start modeling that here very soon. But it looks awesome just from what they've shown so far. Very excited to see more progress being made on that, but for the meantime, this is how the diorama is going to be still. I don't think, they haven't changed it majorly. They have another area closed off in between where the gates, the temporary placement of some of the gates are. They've got that closed off for the construction, of course, but other than that, no major changes to the diorama that I can see for the foreseeable future. But now we'll move on over to the B gates, full lineup there with United and Southwest, and then of course our lone Allegiant aircraft who had to move out of the A gates. You'll have to pardon the placement of the aircraft in correlation with the lines that I have drawn on the diorama here because this gate has been affected by construction, but this is Bravo 11. I don't think, I have not used this apron in an Omaha airport update yet, but here we are, finally getting some use here. This arrived in as flight 5913, operated by SkyWest from San Francisco. And this arrived in at 10:11 p.m., ahead of a scheduled 10:20 p.m. arrival. Still wearing the old livery, but I'm not going to get one because those are going to get phased out eventually. And I'd rather have the new livery aircraft, which is what we all have in this update. They're all Evo Blues. We've got the MAX 9 up next, coming in from Houston Intercontinental. This arrived in as flight 1216, about 20 minutes after the Embraer 175, 10:33 p.m., delay from a 10:30 p.m. scheduled arrival, only behind by 3 minutes. Looking good there. And then we've got our first of two Chicago mainline aircraft in this update. We've got the MAX 8, so again to use both my Evo Blue Maxes in this update. This arrived in from the Windy City, of course, is flight 533. 9:33 p.m. and a scheduled 9:38 p.m. arrival. God, that 7.8, that still looks ridiculous on the diorama. That 7.8 for American substituted for United. I will get a United Evo Blue at some point. I just need perhaps Gemini to re-release it. But since they did a 7.8 in this latest release for May, very hopeful that they will get a 789, another one of those in the works. So I will pick one of those up when a new one comes out. Or if I do find maybe like the NG release or an AV400 one for a similar retail price, maybe at Airliners in Atlanta in about a couple months from now. It's like, about exactly 2 months from when this video comes out, which is crazy. But time moves fast, and we'll certainly keep grooving with this update As we've got the 737-700, the smallest 737 in United's fleet, no MAX 7s that they have. And this also arrived in from Chicago with flight 1727, arriving in at 5:33 p.m., ahead of a scheduled 5:37 p.m. arrival. And then we move on to Allegiant, still taking occupancy at B-15. This is going to be their gate for at least while this construction is going on. I have not heard of any plans on where they're going to go next once the construction is complete. So this is just where they will be at until something else happens, until there's a new development with the construction and all that. But it's good to have some movement, at least in regards with the variety and, positioning the aircraft, because they've always been at the A gates, but now they're not. They're at the B gates. This arrived in from Orlando Sanford as flight 1327 at 4:01 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 4:03 p.m. arrival. Next month, we've got some changes for Allegiant services. Destin Fort Walton Beach will resume on May 23rd, and then Punta Gorda will end on May 27th with Orlando Sanford. This service, Sarasota and St. Petersburg ending the next day on May 28th. So big changes coming up for the Allegiant schedule as we move out of the cold parts of the year and into the warm parts. So not as much demand heading down to Florida and other areas as we head into the summer. Here's our Southwest section. As you can tell, full lineup, but no specials this month, so not going to have to worry about any of that for this update, though I would love to include a special. There was Tennessee 1 on the schedule, but of course I don't have that model, so I can't represent that here. But we'll certainly get it when I have that aircraft spotted officially with a camera, since I did see it in Tampa, as I mentioned before, but I did not have my camera on me because I was still in my Uber when I saw it. It was taking off as I was pulling into the airport, so the lady that I had was very nice, so good to have that, and good to have that experience using rideshare services. But at any rate, we move on to the Southwest MAX 8, coming in from Las Vegas. It's flight 594. This ride in at 12:33 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 12:55 p.m. arrival. And then moving down, trying to operate this tripod with one hand, not going to be perfect, but we'll make it work. So I'm holding the iPad in the other hand. 737-800 coming in from St. Louis. This ride in at flight 550 at 11:08 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 11:30 a.m. arrival. And then our final aircraft for this update, we have the 700, the smallest variant, coming in from Chicago Midway as flight 2665. This ride in at 12:45 p.m., delay from a 12:35 p.m. scheduled arrival, so just behind by 10 minutes. So that, my friends, is Omaha, and I'm going to put that American in the frame. Again, I know, wrong airline, but I don't have the United. I don't have the 789 Evo yet, so I need Gemini to release another one, or just hope and pray that I can find one for a good price, because I tried looking at eBay. There's no good prices anywhere. They're all over $100, so I probably should have gotten one when they were more readily available before they all sold out, especially, with the Gemini release, despite that being on the old cradle. And then, AV400, they did one as well. NG did one eons ago, and that one's pretty much impossible to find. So it's all about just making everything work. So we'll certainly get a United 789 here very soon. I've spotted quite a few of them, so, I should have gotten one earlier, but what can you do? But a great update for sure with the diversions. I mean, that Delta 757, that's still ridiculous to look at the diorama, and then the 78 that parked up here in the apron, of course, because they can't handle wide bodies at the gates, at least to my knowledge. They probably used to back in the day. I'm sure they got something like Eastern TriStars like 30, 40 years ago, maybe even 50 years ago, because remember, time is flying. So that'll do it for this Omaha airport update. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Moving into May, and with that, college coming to a close for me, so expect an uptick in content, especially as we get past Airliners International. A lot of fun stuff in the pipeline, I can assure you that. I can't wait to reveal it all to everybody, because it's going to be a heck of an adventure. Super excited for it. Hope you guys are as well. With that being said, that is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.